Hey Leah, what are we unwrapping today?
Hey, we are unwrapping the Untouchables.
All right. Yep, Eugene is showing his steelbook. I had gifted him a 4K steelbook of The Untouchables. We are discussing Brian De Palma's 1987 film Untouchables, nominated for 4 Academy Awards. Leah, do you know who won? It was nominated for four, won one.
I do know because I just looked it up after I watched the movie, so I was curious, and it was Sean Connery.
Yep. Connery won Best Supporting Actor. I mean, that was like almost, I'm assuming that was probably, as typically Best Supporting Actor is like a given going in, right? You know, one of these career Oscars, which without giving too much away, I clearly love the fact that he won an Oscar for this. It's one of the most, it is probably outside of James Bond, his most iconic role with lines that, I mean, Mamet's dialogue in this film is unbelievable, but lines that to this day, I still hear people quote to one another. So Leah, what was your awareness of this film? I'm curious when you first became aware of the film, and then how had you heard it discussed growing up? I know in your household, both your parents worked with De Palma. I know your father worked with them quite often. So I was just curious with your history with this film.
I actually don't think I had a history with the film. I mean, I'd heard about the name. I actually remember when I was younger because I was an actor and I love films. And I remember I once had an idea for a movie and I was like, it would be great if it was called The Untouchables. And my dad was like, that's already a movie. And I think that may actually be the first time I heard about it. But I don't think it was really like in my purview. I don't know. Like I wasn't aware of the movie in any context. I never saw it, obviously. My parents didn't really talk about it, at least in front of me, but obviously there are a lot of overlaps. And in watching the film in the credits, there were a lot of like the editors they had worked with, which was cool to see. I didn't know that David Mamet wrote it. So when I saw that come up on the screen, I was a little bit more comfortable watching it. But yeah, I really didn't have a knowledge of the film, to be honest with you.
There are two De Palma films that I would argue are like most films. I think Spielberg, and I am paraphrasing this poorly, has said in interviews, and I think this may have actually been utilized by Ben Mankiewicz on his podcast when he was which pod he's done a couple of podcasts, but it's the Talking Pictures. Nope, not Talking Pictures. I'm forgetting the name of the podcast, but basically it's the one where he chose like Peter Bogdanovich to kind of go over his career. For season one of season two, he chose Bonfire of the Vanities. And early on, they were talking about De Palma, and he says like there's a clip of Spielberg saying like only Brian De Palma can make a Brian De Palma film, right? Like there are films that are made, and it's so clear that it is his visual style and language right in that film. And there are two films that are his most popcorn films, I would say, that are the most, I don't want to say constrained, because I don't think he was constraining himself in this film. He very specifically wanted to make this film. But I guess his most popcorn films are the have his signature, but the lightest signature possible that he would offer. And what's interesting about this one is, I mean, one, it's Untouchables, I would say, and the second is Mission Impossible. And both of them are they're very clearly Brian De Palma films that use his techniques, but not in a way where it's first and foremost a Brian De Palma film. Like this is the Untouchables. That is what this is. Mission Impossible was Mission Impossible. And
Wait,
though
he
there were
directed
those
Mission
things,
Impossible?
he did the first one, which rules.
Interesting. Yeah, I
And
mean, I don't even know if I saw it, but that
yeah,
surprises
and
me.
it's I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. And it's just very similar to this. And right, both of these films were TV shows first, right? Like The Untouchables was a TV show called The Untouchables, right? So he's taking something from history, but he's adapting the television show, right, of the historical event, right? Before I get any further, I'm very curious to think what you thought of the film. And this, my choice to gift this film to you, I think, like, if we can break this podcast down into like what it is, like this is probably like 33% of it. Like this conversation, more so than previous conversations, or my take on this film more so than others, is a significant piece of probably of the intent in the decade plus of gifts that have come your way. So I'm very, very curious what you thought of the film.
Well, it's finally coming to fruition. Very exciting. Well, firstly, I'm glad that you kind of identified it as a blockbuster movie because I didn't really feel that way up until the courtroom scene at the end, like when it sort of climaxes, and I was like, "Oh my God." And so I sort of I rolled my eyes. That was where it sort of lost me. And so I'm glad that you said that because I was wondering how it was interpreted at the time, like if this was a big budget, sort of like movie that people were going in droves to see, or whether this was sort of like an art film. I guess we can talk more about that. But I really liked it, I have to say. I sort of expected, just from what I had heard, it being really violent. And I think just compared to movies now being so sort of centered on gore, like this kind of violence almost seemed tasteful. I hate to say, but I didn't hate it. I felt like it was sort of artistic in certain ways, like that scene where they're in the circle and he just like hits that guy with the bat. I kind of loved that scene. It kind of reminds me of like There Will Be Blood or something. Like it had a darkness to it. So I was like, all right, I'm kind of into this. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really well done. I didn't really love Kevin Costner. He just doesn't do it for me. He's a little like stilted. So he was the only kind of weak link I felt, but I did enjoy watching the movie until the courtroom scene, and then I just was like, oh boy.
I love, was it the courtroom scene at the end or one or the shootout and throwing
Right, and
Frank
then it
Nitti
kept
off the
going, right? Then the baby, that was after, right? Or
oh
no, that was before.
the
The
baby
That
baby
scene.
scenes
scene,
are so different,
the
but
baby scene was intense.
that
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
very
that
intense.
rules.
But
And he's playing off of, right, a scene from a popular, I think it's a popular sound film,
Hmm.
which I wanted to look up before, and I had the name of it at some point. But that so we'll get to that though when we'll try to keep things moving as our as our producer would like us to by starting with the beginning of the film.
Okay.
Um, and if just to comment before we get, because I do want to talk about the score immediately, but before we do that, to talk about Costner a little bit, I love Costner in this movie, 100%. And I think that like your critiques are part of why I love him in the film, right? Costner himself thought he was terrified that he was going to ruin the film, right? Like he also has been quoted as saying, when I saw it, I was just thrilled I didn't ruin it. So watching this film today, watching it this weekend, I've always enjoyed the film quite a bit. And I agree with you that the violence, right, is visceral in a way where there are stakes and the blood and the gore, it's almost as if, right, outside of Connery's death, the way that people die, the way that it's filmed for me, it's not just that people are dying and we don't want to die. It's that I don't want to die that way. Right? Like every like I don't want it right. I don't want to die that way. I don't, even if I'm dead, I don't want my brains then blown out through a glass, right? Like
Hmm.
I don't want to die any of these ways, right? The only death where I didn't find myself thinking that was Connery's death, and I felt terrible during that scene, because I didn't want him to die, but it wasn't because I didn't want him to die that way, right? It was really for me like the way that I was responding to it was this idea of I didn't want to be humiliated. Like I wouldn't want to be my death to be humiliating in this way, right? Like I felt bad for Oscar's death for that very reason.
Hmm.
So to bring it all back, right? Like this film does something that enraged me about Killers of the Flower Moon. And we've talked about that before, right? The book of Killers of the Flower Moon makes a brilliant argument for what a powerful, strong federal government can do to protect an idea of a constitutional democracy and protect the citizenry, right? When the federal government is working its best, it's doing that, right? And this film, in its own small little way, represents that, and it does it in a way where you have this Midwestern federal agent, right, just being placed in the middle of an urban environment, right, where immigrants are at war with each other, right, where you have Italian mafiosos, Irish cops, they're either shaking hands in collusion or combating each other. And here's this guy being dropped in to represent this other American idea that is so very different from both of them. And he just looks the part fantastically. And even his lack of comprehension and understanding, which we'll get to later in other scenes, right? When he first kills somebody, right? Like that whole, what is this, a game? right? Like this,
Mhm.
like everything that he's doing, right? And how he does it, where it's this idea that it's like all occurring to him for the first time, which could appear wooden or could appear like, come on, you don't have this awareness. I love that, right? That way that we have that in the midst of all of this.
Yeah, it's true. I think initially I thought he was sort of miscast. Like he didn't feel like a 1930s guy. I was like, this feels like a modern man, sort of, like he's not carrying himself in this way. But I also think that's maybe part of it. Like he is thrown into a situation where he's not comfortable and he is very naive in a lot of those situations where you're like kind of rolling your eyes like, oh my God, like get with it. Like you're in the, this is the job you signed up for. But yeah, that's partly the point. So if I think about it more, maybe it'll sink in a little bit more that it kind of works in a certain way. But I still think his acting is kind of off. I don't
Yeah,
know. He just doesn't. Yeah. Go ahead, buddy.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm a fan of Costner's work, but this was like I feel like classic his early performances where he started off the first scene with him. He's got like a Chicago accent, and then he like quickly drops it throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's been like an oftentimes thing where he's like put in this place in the world, and he tries to act like he's from there, and then he's like, no, I should just be myself. And that actually serves the story better than him trying to
Hmm.
be. I was like, is he from Chicago? Is he like, I don't, what is he trying to do here? Or is he placed here?
I wonder if he tried. I'm trying to remember. I just remember him mumbling in the beginning of Robin Hood. I wonder in the beginning of Robin Hood, he tried a British accent. Was like, no, I'm not doing that. Or just from the get-go, he's like, look, I'm English, but I'm from the Midwest, and I'm just doing it.
Right.
That
That's like the vibe he gives off is like, he's like, should I try? Nah, not really. And then he just kind of goes with it. And you're like, this guy doesn't even care. Like he's just walking through this part. But that's sort of his acting style. I don't know. He is a good actor in a certain way, but then I don't know. It just does not work for me. Yeah.
there are plenty of people who agree with you, right? Like where Costner, he's always a fascinating actor to talk about because there are so many fascinating stories about him on sets, in film, being quote unquote difficult or really, really, really like aligning with what maybe his friends or the directors. Like, he is a fascinating figure from the things that work, from things that don't work, from his collaborators to those who he collaborated with and then would get on the outs with and then bring them back in and collaborate again. He's incredibly fascinating. And I could tell quite a few Costner stories.
Well, I don't know anything about him. So if you want to share
Yeah, no.
any.
Well, one thing I think you will find fascinating is that when the BP oil spill happened, the
Hmm.
technology that he was working on, like that on his own to clean water, he brought to Congress. He says, "Hey, I've been funding this project and it
Hmm.
works. So you guys probably use this now, right? And I don't want anything for it. I just want to offer it up so that, pollution's bad."
Wow.
And he
That
like
is
he went
fascinating.
before Congress and offered it, and they utilized it. It's a
Wow.
Cosner back project. But I mean, there are
Hmm.
lots, there are directors that he worked with early on who he brought onto bigger projects, right? To serve as directors. And just to get to a question that you had earlier where you weren't sure what kind of film this was, it was a summer film, right? It was a blockbuster. It was made to make money. It was a success. It made almost 100 million in 87 is a big deal. I think it made like 85.
So
I'm
I
sorry,
read
made
76.
76. Yeah, 70. I just looked down. 76, right? So that's a ton of money. 76 million for an R-rated film, domestic, particularly in 87, right? That would be well over 100 now, right? Probably almost probably like around 150, I would think now. Or I could be wildly off on that. And to just start the film off, does anybody know the name of the score? Like literally the track, like the film opens, right?
Hmm.
Opening title theme, right? And I love this score. Marconi, oh, I just
Yeah, it's
I
great.
love this score. Strength of the Righteous. That's what it's called.
Hmm.
Like, and of course I eat that up. Patrick's making like a side face.
No, 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 no. Don't read into my side faces now, Michael. I've been making them for the last 10 minutes. No, so it's gonna later on when we get to like my takeaway from the movie is it goes into what did you say, Strength of the Righteous?
Yeah, Strength of the Righteous.
That's
Yeah,
also
and
your cologne, right?
I would if there was a cologne called Strength of the Righteous and Cosner promoted it, I would have boxes of it.
Yeah.
Cases of it.
Yeah, it's
Right.
mostly
And
hemp and with traces of Clorox.
so for me, what this film does, right, is like from the get-go, right? The score, it sets an immediate tone, The film is going to be hard. The world is going to be scary. There is evil. I'll get too dorky, right? It's ravaging the streets. And there are a few who are willing to go after it, and they're going to do it with a violent fury. And it immediately sets up what this film is going to be. And this go around, I was not marveled, but shaken by every word out of Capone's mouth being prescient to today. And he is, I mean, mammoth screenplay, the dialogue, right? Understanding predatory power, the way that he does in this film, mafia style predatory power. Just that, right? So you have the intro, you have the music, you have the great credits, such a fantastic opening credit sequence, and it's like boom, cut, right? A brilliant De Palma shot, right? The camera's overhead, right? They've got that a little bit of setup, in a prologue, like here's the year, here's what's going on, and you have all these reporters, they're all around Capone, and he's holding court, and the barber accidentally nicks him. The look of fear, so fantastic in that barber's face, and that you get the flicker of rage in Capone's eyes, the touch of the blood, and then he gives it a moment, and the king is going to give forgiveness, right? It's all right, it's all right, right? Everybody gets to breathe easy, and of course, because he's holding court, he's not going to slit the barber's throat or beat him to death, which he could easily have just done, right? It was like it sets the tone just fantastically.
Yeah, I was in after that first scene. So the opening, I mean, you had sort of given me a little in that like the opening credits are great. So, and I once I heard the music, I was kind of taken. But yeah, that opening shot and then the scene, the way it played out, and he's so good. And yeah, the whole thing with the barber and just the way he, yeah, just looks at him like that. And then he's talking about violence, like, and then meanwhile he's responding to this. I just thought that was such a great pairing. And yeah, the scene definitely takes you into the movie.
Yep.
So I was yeah, 100% in.
I mean, there's that infamous quote that the essence of power is fear,
Yes. Yep.
And I think that that's like that you see that by somebody holding court who is considered charismatic by the media at the time and held so much power and influence that the whole room shifted and we felt the tension within the first like 30 seconds of the film. We,
Absolutely.
Mhm.
and that's everything. That tells you everything that you need to know.
Correct. Some might argue right, that De Palma's playing with the heavy hand, and De Palma always plays with the heavy hand. And actually, that's what I love about De Palma in many ways, right? Because there's no problem for filmmaking to have a heavy hand. And so you have him holding court, as Leah was saying, right? He's talking about violence and he's normalizing violence, is what he's doing also, right? Hey, where I grew up, right? You got further with a kind word and a stick than you just got with the kind word, right? With the batter, just with and then just with the kind word, right? So he's normalizing it. They're all chuckling because it's quote unquote reasonable what he's saying. And then you cut immediately to, right? The fear of the guy in the local corner store saying he's not going to buy the booze, that it's not good. He doesn't want it. You see his fear, you see the little girl, and then right, the whole place blows up. And it is the absolute juxtaposition, right? Here's what Capone is selling. Here's the reality we all know, but we choose to ignore it and we allow ourselves, right? It's not that he is charismatic, right? But it's not that he's so charismatic. He makes people forget reality happening at that time, right? They just choose it because they want to drink. It is an active choice that the community at large is making. And you cut right to, and you have the Ness family music swelling, right? Ness is in his home. You see him from behind. He's reading the paper, and there's this earnestness in it that I just completely eat up. The music swells up emotions where for me it's like rage, right? And I'm all in, right? I'm all in the film. What's going to happen next? Because I am captivated. How are they going to respond to this? What is he going to do? And that's kind of what Connery's like purposes in the entire film. Consistently, what are you prepared to do? Even the last thing he says, right? Right, as his guts are all over the place, right? What are you prepared to do?
Mhm.
Right? Like, so this is the reality of the world, and what are you prepared to do?
Yeah, I loved that second scene too with the little girl because it really solidifies the idea that they just do not care. I think that it could have been an adult or it could have been just the guy in the shop and he gets blown up. But the fact that it's her and the guy leaves, sees that she's there, leaves the bomb, I think that was like, oh wow, they really don't give a shit. And so it makes them even more, villains. So I thought that was really smart to do. And I remember thinking that in my head, like, oh yeah, like they're terrible to not care about this. The next scene lost me a little bit when they introduced Ness, just because I don't love the earnestness of it. The music does nothing for me in that moment. I love like the music in general. And there were other moments where I thought the music was great, but this kind of music, I don't know. And again, like the whole Costner thing with the wife, even so in the credits, she's named as Ness's wife. She does not even have a name. It's like, really? Like even like in the 80s, you can't name the guy's wife, and she's in a bunch of scenes, and it's Patricia
Yes.
Clarkson for fuck's sake. I mean, Jesus. So
Yep.
anyway, so that kind of annoyed me. Their whole relationship, like she's just so angelic and the whole thing. But
That is De Palma. Like
yes,
that
yeah.
is such a De Palma thing. And well, one, another director could do it as well. And I would argue that it would be more two-dimensional. I think that Patricia Clarkson, as you're saying, right? Like you remember that character because of her. And I believe he wants you to remember that character, right? My hope is what that represents is in its like massive juxtaposition. And as you were saying also, Leah, right? Like, like why not? Like if you're Capone, make an example, make a big public display, blow up the corner store, right? Make people afraid that you are all encompassing, that there is no choice in this, that they must accept their reality and might as well have a little bit of fun while you're doing it. And you cut immediately to this idea that I would say an idea that people are entitled to live without fear. I think the music, like for me, when I listen to that music, it represents that. And later on, we'll talk about even the scenes where like, Cosner's like, oh, she wants to like paint the house, right? And like, that keeps going on. And like later on, he says something like, in this world, people still care about that. I don't think he's being condescending, right? I think all of that links to this idea that people should be entitled to care about the color of their home. They should be like these are the kinds of, if we get to a world where people can do things in their home to make it comfortable and a home, something that like that represents like what the ruby slippers represent in the Wizard of Oz, the safe space, and if they can work to create that and maintain it, is not what we're all working towards. So like I do think like obviously like in the era, and of course, right, her agency is only in the home, and within those limitations, I don't think it's condescending.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't interpret it that way. I feel like he's a good guy. I mean, I don't think he's, misogynistic or like I think his intentions are good. It's just the time that we're living in that he, is just sort of everyone's just sort of like, oh, the woman's gonna want a bigger house, when he starts painting and all that kind of stuff. But, I didn't mind it too much. It was just more the filmmaker realizing like she didn't even have a name and just the whole thing, the
Yeah, yeah.
portrayal of the wife being like so supportive and, just like a placeholder for him, like a foil for him and his, it's just,
And it's
it's not
fitting.
great.
It's fitting that it's Connery's line that says, "Pretty soon she'll want a bigger home," because that is a misogynist statement, and it's a Connery, and that Connery is
Yeah.
perfect for that. I mean, not praising it, just laughing hysterically at his history.
Hmm.
I'm curious if they couldn't get the rights to to say her name to cat like in the if that was like I'm just saying like if you're telling a story about a real life person if they don't maybe there was an issue with life rights. I don't know. I'm just
It's a
I
good
don't
point.
know because just to name her as like Ness's wife seems odd, like an odd choice because she
Yeah.
was such a character.
Hmm. It could be.
And but I just throwing it out there if there's like another thing. But I always tend to lean on like misogyny. They'd be like that's probably it. But I'm just and I do think like it posed as like a good juxtaposition to the earnestness work for me worked because you just see somebody who's so charismatic without any integrity, and then to flip it to like this is someone who's just earnest. And like the idea of like the nature of the relationship, one of the things that I enjoyed, and it is hokey, but I enjoyed like her line that like was like kind of like the sounding bell, which is like now it's time to get to work. I love that line.
I love
That's
that.
true.
I love that he's a bit of a schmuck, right? Like let's do some good. That's the statement a schmuck makes, right? That statement that someone who comes out of and also that's what I also like about that opening scene, right? He is he is ensconced, right, in privilege, right? Right. Everything about him oozes ease and privilege. Not that he's not smart, not that he's not a good guy, right? It is the apex of it all. And he is just schmucky and naive, right? There's a difference between earnestness and naive. So fine. I mean, look, one, the statement is a schmucky statement.
I
Let's
think
do
it's a
some good.
statement of how he is not charismatic at all. That's what, I think he just doesn't know. I think he realizes these guys are not giving him anything. Like, I should probably say something motivational, and like his brain tells him the only thing is to raise your fist and say, like he
It's
doesn't really.
perfect. It's a
Yeah.
perfect line though, right? Like it
Yeah.
works brilliantly because like I'm not like I love that it's there. It speaks to like these multiple things at once regarding his character, right? His character is an earnest character, right? And he is naive in his role and in his position. And to his credit, he chooses very quickly that he doesn't want to be naive. Like his mission statement does not change from the start of the film till the end. He has had the most humiliating experience of his life. And then his exchange with Connery, right, which is the very next scene. I love that scene so much.
Mhm.
I mean, he's Connery, right? What does he say? He's like, he says, "Oh, now what do you think you're doing?" Right? He opens up the note, right? He reads the note from his wife, right? Like I'm very proud of you, right? I think that's what it says, and he throws it.
Mhm.
Now, what do you do? What do you think you're doing? Right? And immediately, right? I love how like in that scene, Connery believes he's in a position of authority and power, right? And the moment Ness says that he's a federal agent, a treasury officer, immediately Connery's like, oh shit, right? Like I don't want this guy, busting me up, right? I'm a beat cop, right? This guy could easily he can turn the tables on me quite quickly. Like Connery understands the way power works, whether it's corrupt power, right, or bureaucratic power. Like there's like a nice little flicker there in the character, right? And he's kind of like tries to save face. All right, well, remember what I said then, right? And he tries to walk away. And then Ness does try to Bigfoot him to say like how dare you walk away from an armed man? And then Connery gets him again, right? Where he says, if you weren't that, you would just be like, ah, I'm a cop, right? Like I'm like, oh, I'm a cop, right? And that's like what who says I'm a treasury agent who's not a treasury agent? And Ness realizes just how out of his league he is, just how out of his league he is, and how he has none of the experience. And he wants to try to bring his earnestness, right? He wants to mix earnestness with experience to solve the problem. And to the film's credit and Connery's credit as the character, he never wants to take that away from Ness, right? The earnestness. He never wants to take earnestness away from the film. He wants that as well. He's not that, and he wants that. I love it.
Yeah, he's naive, but he's not stupid. I think that's the thing. That's the real difference is that he does take the cues and he's curious enough and humble enough to want to be better. And he immediately realizes, like, oh shit, this isn't going to work with these cops who are clearly all corrupt or they hate me or whatever, they don't like me, whatever it is. And he completely pivots. And so that's when you start to, at least for me, that's when I started to really like him. So I was like, okay, at least he gets it. And he's going to like go with the actual experienced people who really are moral, which I think you can tell already from the Sean Connery character in the beginning that he's like, got some experience and something's happened to him.
That's why I would say like I love calling somebody a schmuck, but I love calling schmucks a schmuck, like but I didn't get that from him. He seemed like somebody who didn't have like a whole lot of ego, just the way that he responded
Mm-hmm.
to things. Like he wasn't really like when he did get embarrassed and they post the article on his door, he just puts it on his wall. It's like, okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
this is a headline and this is something to track. Like, this is information.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Right.
like Lee was saying, he had enough humility to be like, okay, so now I know a little bit more about my environment and where I can build the right team. Like he doesn't let his pride get in the way.
So right, they put that on his door. He looks at it, right? He puts his head down, then he puts it up, right? And immediately that he's thinking about himself and his embarrassment, right? And what do I do next? And that mother shows up, and none of that matters, right? Immediately, right? Incredibly empathetic. He's drawn right to her, and his humility means nothing to him, right? It is already gone, and the mission at hand comes back to the forefront. So much so, right? That he goes right to Connery's place, right? He's got nothing left. And he's like, right, the mother shows up, reminds him of what's at stake. And again, with humility, goes to Connery, a beat cop. He's a federal agent, right? He has been tasked with authority here in this space to have a whole unit in the Chicago Police Department. And he goes to a beat cop to his apartment asking for help. And of course, Connery denies him, right? And then when they're in the church, right? That's the scene. I remember watching the 88 Oscars. And I remember they showed the clip when, again, such a brilliant shot of them, like of the camera below the pew, like a little bit
Mm-hmm.
lower than the pew, and them leaning over the pew, and Connery holding on to St. Jude, right? And he's, like the whole his whole speech is great. People love that speech. They talk about it all the time, right? If they come at you with a knife, a bat, knife, right, knife, gun, whatever, come at the gun, a knife, you go back with the bat. They send one of yours to the hospital, you send one of theirs to the morgue. That's the Chicago way, right? People would quote that all the time. But the line I love, and I think that maybe I'm going to get myself in the weeds here. I love when he says the Lord hates a coward, right? Because it's about his one. It speaks to when a faith system works, I would argue best. It's not this, I'm afraid of going to hell, so I'm going to do good things, right? I can't stand those Ron Reagan commercials, right? I'm not afraid of going to hell, right? Burning in hell, right? It's like, hey, man, some people don't believe because they're afraid of going to hell, right? They're not doing good things to get put on a ledger. There's this idea of what it means to be courageous, and that there are stakes in it. Some people don't believe, but they believe in that as well, that there are acts of goodness and there are acts that are predatory. Other people make that spiritual, but they still believe it also. And for Connery, it was just quite simple, right? Well, the Lord hates a coward, right? I'd like to live, but I don't want to be a coward. I should do something courageous, and I am being asked to do something courageous. I'm being charged with doing something courageous, and I haven't done it since this time, even when I wanted to, because there's no avenue to do it. But now I'm being asked. So when being asked, do I do it? And I think that works so very well. It's a line that is, I don't believe it's a throwaway line in the film, right? But it's the line that comes after the line that gets most people juiced up. Yeah, someone there's from the morgue, right? But just that little quip, it speaks to that character's character. And I would even argue why he aligns himself so well with someone like Ness, because Ness actually believes in doing something good.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was a great scene, and it does really encapsulate his character, like why he decides to go along with this so quickly. Like he just meets this guy. Why would he want to do this? It's because he really is moral and he really does believe in doing the right thing. And clearly, it sort of reminded me of the Robert De Niro character in Midnight Run. It's like, somebody who's been like exiled from the system because they actually were doing the right thing. And then they're like being asked to come back and really fight the fight. And so he does it because that's who he really is. So you gotta love him.
Rules. Yep, you gotta love him. And then, I mean, and like immediately, like the movie, like the moment Connery comes in, the movie's already cooking, but then it's just on fire, right? They're at the
Hmm.
church, right, which is gorgeous. Then they're in the street. I mean, old movies,
Hmm.
like the way the movies used to be made, right?
Yeah.
All these people walking back and forth, right, dressed by Giorgio Armani, right? Like
Hmm.
they're all in this gear and they're having a conversation in the middle of the street as these people are going by. It looks fantastic. It is gorgeous, right? You just believe you're there. They're walking
Hmm.
and they're talking, right? Their exposition is happening, right? And you're so captivated by it. And they're moving, and you're loving it. You're getting atmosphere, you're getting tone, you're getting setting, you're living in that moment. And then you go right into, right, the shooting range scene, right, where they're going to introduce, right, like the hottest person on the screen, right, in every way. When anybody hot is like, just like, come on, Garcia is just like every line, every look on his face, right, the movements, right, he pops so hard. And De Palma knows this, right? I mean, the way he's being introduced like an action hero. It's hysterical and it works. He's got the gun in the back of his pants, right? The camera zooming in on him. But before then, you get that great joke, right? Where you got the guy coming up, right? Well, a bunch of things are happening. One, Connery says none of them are married, right? I don't want any men with families, right? You got it, right? Connery says you have a family. Well, I'm in charge, and I'm challenged too, right? I've been charged with being responsible for this, so I'm going to take it. But I could choose other men without families, right? And there's that awareness. And then immediately you get the guy, I want to do good, right? Connery, what does Connery say? Anybody remember the line?
Oh yes, I wrote it down because this is my favorite line in the movie. There goes the new chief of police. I just
There goes the next chief of police. Don't want to be
Oh yes,
too
the next. Sorry, don't want to
sorry,
be too
sorry, Leah.
accurate.
Not to go a little bit out of order, but I wanted to take a moment before we got to the sweats on sweats scene to give a shout out to Giorgio Armani.
Very important.
Yeah. Because you said like they're dressed in Giorgio Armani, but like I didn't realize like with all the score is fantastic, the screenplay is fantastic, the directing's fantastic. I didn't realize Giorgio Armani did the costume design. Like that was I was like, whoa, how did I miss that? That's wild. And it really speaks to like the beautiful costume, the clothes that they're wearing just like looks fantastic. But then you go into like this scene where they're all just wearing sweats on sweats and Andy Garcia comes in. It's like Giorgio Armani was like, he'll look fine in sweats on sweats.
Sweats on sweats. I think Armani did the suit specifically. I'm sure they had other people with the sweats and some of the other gear, but
No, no, let's not take away the integrity of knowing like back in the day the Academy wore tight sweats on tight sweats.
look, you have him with sweats on sweats. You have back and neck hair just like
I feel like this episode
jumping.
needs to be called Sweats on Sweats.
Right, his back and neck hair are rising right from out of the sweats, and none of it matters. That scene with Connery is amazing. What's your name, George Stone? Nah, what's your name before you changed it?
Yeah, that was a great scene.
I mean, how like they're making this movie, they had to have known like this is perfect for Connery. And Connery's also right. This is right before Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Connery, I think, was wearing a piece in most of his films. He takes the piece off. He's letting himself go a little bit, as one should at that age. I would love to be in the same position as Connery, right? And he looks fantastic and just so much character. And that whole exchange back and forth, right? Oh, I like him.
And it was Costner that was like, I don't want any married men. Right.
Yeah, right. No, Costner, right. I'm
Right.
sorry if
Well,
I
because
wasn't
of that
clear.
first scene where he's talking to the other guy and they're both talking about how it's nice to be married, but it's like the complacency, I think, of the other guy because he's like, "Yeah, I'm married. This is my job. I'm just gonna sit here in the car and I don't really care." And I think he
Mm.
realized like, "Oh, I need someone who's really hungry because otherwise this isn't gonna work."
I also got the impression, and it might just be like how I read into it. I thought it was that he didn't want to have to speak to a grieving widow. Like
Oh,
the
Yeah.
idea of
interesting.
like people, there was such an emphasis in this film about family. Like, you
Hmm.
see like that introduction when you meet Ness's wife and she's pregnant right after you see the child get blown up. And like and then like, the failure, and then you get the reminder about what this is. It's about children, like keeping children. There's like this
Hmm.
real interesting undertone. And like,
Yeah,
I don't want to,
It could
I
be.
I initially read it like that too, but I do, and I
Hmm.
also like Leah's take as well, right? Because
yeah.
I think both of those things can be true at the same time, right? Like
Hmm.
my initial take was not only he didn't want to talk to a grieving widow, didn't want to leave other children fatherless, right? He's willing to take these stakes, but not have someone else be willing to take those stakes. But at the same time, right, that other guy in the car, right? This was a job. It wasn't scary or complicated, right? Because the guy maybe the guy knew, maybe the guy didn't, right? That their bus was not going to be much of anything. But like within the unit, there was no risk, at least in that moment.
The line that he says about getting the apple like off the tree instead of the whatever he said,
Out of
the
the
idea
barrel.
that
Yeah.
Out of
the
the barrel,
barrel,
right.
yeah,
Pluck it off the
that
tree. You don't want to get a rotten
yeah,
apple, right?
that
Don't take it in
once
the
they're
barrel.
in the whatever you call the service or whatever, I don't know, the police station, the system, they're
Yeah.
already corrupt. Like it's too late and you have to get them before they're, fucked. Like it's just I really appreciated the attitude of that and that line like about him being the next chief of police is like here's this idiot and he just doesn't like think and doesn't even know what he thinks. And of course, he's going to be the next person because he can just be told what to do. So I really appreciated the sentiment of that in this movie.
It was fantastic,
Yeah.
right? And even before it, right, they're at the church talking, right? Because Connery says these walls have ears. I love that, right?
Yes.
Malone. I gotta start calling him Malone. Malone, right? Like,
It's
let's
also a
go. These
great
walls have
name.
ears. It is a great name. And I just like what a great phrase, right? These walls have ears, right?
Hmm.
And even when he says, right, because they go on the raid, right? Oscar comes in, he's got the big pipe and he's smoking his pipe, right? And he hands him a gun, right? And they're going,
You got a
he's like, we're gonna
badge?
go on a raid, right? The shotgun,
Yeah.
right? We're gonna go on a raid. He's like, yeah, carry badge, carry gun, right? They're going on the raid. The other guy, says to Connery as they're walking out the door, like, you look ridiculous. See, they do
Hmm.
look ridiculous. And that's part of the point as well, right? Like they are so outside the norm, right?
Hmm.
And only outside the norm would you be able to move the system forward, break down the corruption. right?
Right.
And what he says, right, to they're going to the post office, and, and that's just like, what are you doing here? Why are we at the post office? It's like everybody knows where the booze is. No one's
Mhm.
willing to do anything about it. You sure you want to do this? Just a fantastic, and immediately, right, they go right into it. There's a raid, there's all this alcohol, and then you cut to your favorite scene, Leah.
Well, first, another great line when he said, "Where's your warrant? Here's your warrant," and
Right.
then hits him in the balls. I mean,
Wow, wow.
What a turn. Leah's
I really appreciated that. I just enjoyed it. It worked. If it works in the moment, it works. If it's hokey, it's hokey. For some reason, it made me laugh.
well, it wasn't hokey because he got, the butt end of a shotgun. That's what,
Right.
that was like, it worked. The gratuitous violence is what made it work. That's what made it enjoyable.
Oh my God. Listen, if you're part of the mafia, you deserve it. So I don't care. That's
This
fine
Hot
is
with
take.
me.
Hot take.
I hope your
You
mom doesn't
asked
listen.
for
I hope
it.
your mom doesn't listen to this episode. She's going to I'm going to get a
Mad at
text like,
me.
"What are you doing to my daughter? She's enjoying
Oh,
the Untouchables."
no. She told me, I talked to her this morning and I was like, I gotta watch The Untouchables. I can't talk to you. And she was like, it's fun, except for the violence. So
Yeah,
that was her hot take.
I recall we're gonna get, just I do recall a conversation with your mom specifically about the scene in the train station and like her
Mhm.
discomfort with it, which I thought, but
With the baby, you mean that scene?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that was
Interesting.
a little too much. If
Okay.
I'm recalling it, if
And
I'm
De
I
not,
could
Palma
see
wanted it
that.
to be a little too much, right? We'll get to it
yeah,
then, but out of
yeah,
Right.
all
we'll
the
get to that.
babies they can choose, blonde haired, blue eyes, curls, like those curls were jumping out. I mean,
Right.
all that's intentional, right? To
I literally said to the screen, the baby, get the baby. I
But that's
mean,
what you
you
want. I mean, I
know,
think it's like an underpin throughout the movie. But I
right.
mean, we could touch upon that on a side note because I know everybody, all the is going to be screaming into their speaker. The baby was selected simply because it was the stunt coord. This is what I read in my extensive research. It was the stunt coordinator's child.
Did you read that on
Interesting.
IMDb?
Today, I'm first of all, what's
Oh,
Connery's
People,
quote about sources? If you want something to be a secret,
God. Don't tell the
what if you want
boss?
something to be a secret? What?
don't tell the boss. Yeah,
That's
that's what.
another great line. I mean, David Mamet, it's when you have good writing,
Right, right. Yep.
it just
No, oh, that's
works.
correct.
My
But
favorite.
no,
My
yeah, no, go
Never
ahead.
mind. I was gonna make a stupid joke, but I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, just talking about the baby and yelling at the screen about the baby. I mean, obviously, it's sort of ridiculous as I'm doing it because when she yells like "my baby," I was just like, "Oh my God!" Like there's more tasteful ways you could have done that, but it worked and it didn't work.
We're making Eugene so happy, right? I just saw him sip some coffee or water out of his Conan cup, right? He's never I have never seen him be so relaxed while recording before. He's chilling out. We're trying to stay in order. So
We're
happy.
going all over the place. Sorry.
Do you read Eugene? Because I don't. I'm like the Kim Basinger of the podcast. I don't like to listen to my own work. So I don't know. Eugene, do you edit? Do you like go back and edit it so it sounds like we're doing things in chronological order, or
He
how does
does
that
not.
work? He doesn't. Okay.
I mean,
People just people just ride the wave with us.
also sometimes I have to stitch together, and if we're going back and forth between topics, but then like across the length of the podcast, we're talking about like one particular topic, then I might like stitch those together so that it's not coming across at like different points in the pod.
Awesome. That was listeners. That was our behind baseball.
Behind, you mean inside baseball? You
Inside
mean inside
baseball,
baseball?
behind the scenes, inside baseball. Edit
Behind
that out.
baseball.
Clean it up. Clean it up. Stitch it together.
Nope, nope. Keep that in as it is. And Leah, when Eugene moved out to Jersey,
Mhm.
and he spent quite a few Christmases with us. So
Check this out.
oftentimes when we're recording, I would say like 25% of Eugene's wardrobe, we have purchased him for the holidays. So I believe that's a flannel that he got from Christmas for us one of those years. Is that correct?
Very
Yeah,
nice.
this will all be cut out.
Yes, it will be. And I was like,
Yeah, I was gonna say this is not
like
staying in,
wrote
but
down the time of that.
uh,
Okay, so we have Leah's favorite scene where De Niro takes a bat, where Capone takes a bat to the poor guy's head, which is a notorious scene. It's a very very famous scene from this film, and it reminds us of the stakes, right? We don't see De Niro. We have the opening scene with the barber, and then we cut right to him right at this big gala, and you have that speech about baseball. And right, and all the guys sitting around the table, like what makes that scene is them kind of like, oh, when the blood splurts on them, like oh, like what do you expect, fellas?
And then, of course, then they're scared about their own lives. It's like they're all laughing until it's becomes real.
Yep,
And it is real. Like any of them could be up,
that's
at the
right.
stake the next time.
So I want to talk a little bit about my first time watching this film. And I remember it vividly. I think I was, maybe it was fourth grade, maybe it was fifth grade. I was allowed to stay up night. Look, they used to on network television on Sunday and or Monday nights, right at 9 p.m. They would play films right on network television with commercials. And they would be edited out for violence. And I had permission to stay up to watch The Untouchables. And the scene on horseback right at the Canadian border, I remember vividly. Like that scene stayed with me for weeks. Of course, I wanted to be Kevin Costner, right? Like very much so. And but the way that the film, just in the middle of it, just cuts right to the Canadian border, right? Like what De Palma does so fantastically in this film, over and over and over again, right? He cuts right to an establishing shot, often, right? You get to see broadly whatever setting they're in, and then he'll start moving the camera more intimately. I love it every time, right? Every scene when he does it, right? And when they're in Canada, you get to see like just the vastness of it. You've got the Mountie who is so self-righteous. And now, all right, you know what, Patrick, you're right. When Ness says let's do some good, it's naive, but the Mountie, he is a schmuck, capital S schmuck, right? I was too quick to call Ness a schmuck, but this guy, right, is a schmuck.
He is, but
And
didn't he kind of save the day then when they come bounding down the hill? I know they kind of ruined the moment, but they also cornered them.
they did corner them, but I think there was this idea that I think they were waiting. They were supposed to get them by surprise, right? Because he even says that in like half the battle is, so the
Right,
element of
right.
surprise, right? So like they were about to escape, right? When they had to run down there, they were going to try to get there first and say, hey, everybody freeze kind of a thing, right?
Hmm.
But he jumped the gun, and also he was supposed to wait for Ness's signal and he doesn't, right?
Right. Yeah,
So, but
obviously that was true. But it worked. So
it
maybe,
does
And
work.
still want to honor our great allies from the north.
of course.
Yes, of course. I'm referencing a fictional Mountie from
Yeah.
1930, whenever.
And he did appear as a bit of a schmuck. So
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
I
Yes, he
concur.
did.
Yes, and also, yeah, but law abiding, right? In the end, he was like, when he saw, yeah, that
Yeah.
That's right.
seemed
When he saw
like,
Connery blow out that guy's brains, right?
Yeah, they're all
He did not
I do not
he does
agree.
not approve of those methods.
Right. That's what it was. But also, wasn't that guy already dead? Isn't that the whole
Yes.
point
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
that?
Yes, no,
Okay.
he
Oh,
was
yeah, yeah,
already
yeah.
dead. Wow,
Okay.
Leah doesn't mind. It's like he's already dead. What does it matter?
Well, because I thought that was the whole thing. I was like, well, he's just showing up. Like he's not actually
Yeah.
killing this guy.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is just
Because
showing off,
well, he
right?
already killed him, but
Some
then
people may
he's
be
yeah.
opposed though to blowing the brains out of someone who's already dead still.
Yeah, but it would have been a bridge too far if Elliot
Oh
Ness.
no,
Eh.
you could have seen it. Anybody could have seen
Eh.
Leah's look was like, whatever.
Yeah.
But he's a gangster. He's a bootlegger. He's already dead. Hey, it got the other guy
Yeah.
talking, right?
But Leah questioned it. She was okay with the movie continuing on, knowing that the Untouchables are just executing people to get information. She was like,
I mean,
Yes.
not necessarily. Who did they just execute to get information?
no, you weren't sure if he was dead when Connery.
No,
And
I
Yeah,
that's
knew
why
he
knew.
was
She knew.
dead.
you knew.
I
She
I
just
thought you
wanted
were
to
like, wasn't
confirm
he
with you
dead?
because I was like,
Yeah,
wasn't he? Isn't that the whole point of
yeah,
the scene is that
Yeah.
he's not actually, it's just like
Yeah.
making the other guy think he was alive. But
Yeah.
anyway.
And the scene right before it, right, where I love when Ness shoots him and he's so upset. I love that line. What is this, a game? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, dude. Like, in many ways it is, right? There is
That's
this,
the whole thing that Connery was trying to tell him in the church. It was like these people are not playing. You know
right.
what I mean? They're going to kill you.
Yep.
And he still seems naive in that scene, which again, had a bit of an eye roll when he said that because like, is this a game? So I'm like, no, don't you get it by now? Like it's not a game. But yeah.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved him shaking the gun, so upset that he doesn't he throw the gun away? And he sits down in the chair. It works so well in what the film is trying to convey. Your frustration with him, I believe the film is trying to convey. And he still charges on, so much so that in the
Mhm.
very next scene, even though the guy's dead, brains are blown everywhere. And he just says that's a Chicago way. You're not from Chicago, right? Like he's learning quickly, Leah.
Yes, all of a sudden he gets it. Yeah, he becomes. I mean, that again, it's a little hokey,
And
but
Connery says, "Would you rather it was you?" Right? No. Okay, then. So you
it's
did
true.
your job,
Yeah.
right? Let's go. I think that those kind of scenes are important and reminds us of these stakes, and also reminds us of what an outsider Ness is, and
Mhm.
what he represents. He represents an idea of what the nation can be. And for him, like Nessa's biggest crime in the film is to have the audacity to actually believe it, right? It's not just a show. Like, well, we put in a good effort, guys, and he goes back to DC, right? We got a couple of arrests, we did this or we did that. Like maybe they get some booze and it's a job well done. And he gets accommodation and a raise, and then he goes out and he gets another office somewhere, right? He has the audacity to believe he could follow this to the end.
Mhm.
And the film works that he's consistently willing. I mean, when we get to the train station scene, right? He just sees the guy whose nose he broke and just blows him away. He has no qualms about that. He shakes the mother away as he's blowing away the other guys
Right.
too. He's a quick learner.
Yeah, he almost loses me when he just drops the carriage. I mean, obviously, it's all going to happen. He sees the thing. It's like, okay, either he's going to yell at her to like get out, or he's going to be in the middle of helping her, and then it's all going to go down. But I don't know. Just dropping the carriage is doesn't seem in character for him.
Well, I mean, the baby would have probably, I mean, I would think the baby would have been shot, right? If they, I mean, he's right there, right? So by dropping the carriage, the baby
Okay.
has a chance. So,
I mean, yeah, I think in that way we go, he's the hero. We establish that he's the hero. This is a story. Because in my head, I'm like, practically, if we get too lost in the reality of it, that baby's like, definitely
well, yeah,
without
obviously.
leaving
Yeah.
And in the
after all the
story too,
gunshots.
right? He does chase after the baby while being shot at, right? So, he
Yeah.
lets it go and then he starts chasing after the baby.
Right.
Yeah, and that way it's very much like an 80s action blockbuster where you're like, oh, he just threw the baby knowing that like he's the hero, he's gonna save the baby. You know.
Oh,
Right.
and in
Okay.
Canada, right? Stone, Giuseppe, he enjoyed shooting the shit out of that first guy. He was like, "Hey, buddy," right? He loved it. Then he gets shot, but he was having the time of his life when he got to kill that guy. And Leah's like, "That's why he's my favorite guy."
He isn't really my favorite guy. My favorite guy's the accountant.
Yeah.
I was very
Oh,
upset when he died. We haven't
that
talked about him
Yes.
yet.
Yeah, we have to
the
talk we have
the
to talk
account.
about that.
Yeah, let's talk. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I
is
was just thinking, I love this guy. And then he
Yeah.
died right then and there, which
That
is probably exactly what they want you to feel. So they did a good job.
that's
I
why,
loved him too.
Leah,
That actor
Mhm.
rules.
that's why every time I watch it, and it's something I have to like come to terms with for myself, is I always go, I love this movie. I love the fact that they're the Untouchables, like these like heroes. And then when he dies, when he gets murdered, so what seems like so early on, I'm like, no, like I get like I almost get disappointed with the movie because I'm like, no, the good guys aren't supposed to die. And then I go, oh wait,
Right.
that is also one of the points of this movie. Violence isn't
Right.
a game. Like
Yeah.
violence isn't fun. And it does come at a cost when you're
Hmm.
fighting a mission.
Yeah. And the mafia are so powerful. Like they're not messing around. They don't care about you. They don't care if you're nice or you're just an accountant or whatever. Like they're gonna get you, and he made it clear. And so I think that scene, they did encapsulate that perfectly.
And it's pervasive in the system. Like there's no safe place if you're
Right.
gonna fight
Even the
truth.
cops are in on it. Yeah.
And right, the film is like I was just saying, Patrick, like it feels like, right, it's like halfway through the film, but it feels so much longer. The film does a fantastic job. It's a 2 hour film and moves so quickly, right? So that by the time that happens, like as Leah says, you've gotten to know Oscar. The film is moving so quickly. They've been a team for a short while, but it doesn't feel like a short while, right? They were a team and they loved each other. I'm with you, Leah. Like every time that happens, even that actor, I mean, when he goes like that breath,
Yeah.
like is devastating. And he's fantastic, right? And then when right they're walking down the hall, they're like the freight elevator, the music starts playing, right? It just kills you, right? And
Hmm.
when Costner he turns the corner and he sees him and he just right he just hits the wall. And then
Hmm.
Connery's the one who like brings him down. Like both of those things, both of their reactions are just devastating reactions.
Even the way they set up the scene with the elevators, like I feel like if I watched it again, there'd be more clues as to like them being in on it. Like I feel like the sergeant or somebody knew what was going to go down because they have like the scene of them walking down the hall, and there's the two elevators, and they get in the elevator and they go down, and there's other guys in the other elevator. I don't know. I just feel like I could sense that something was going to happen just based on how they shot that sequence. So it was really well done. Like the cinematography in this movie was really good and just so smart.
We skipped over the one scene, but I think it's okay because we like kept it connects. The right before that is when Frank
Nitty.
Nettie, right, threatens Costner, and then you have that like the family goes into hiding. Like talk about like a sign of them being a family, they all come running right there, like as it's safe. So you kind of have this moment where you see Oscar respond immediately, and he kind of represents like a safe one of the group. Like he's the forensic accountant. He comes in, he like puts them in the car, and like he does that whole. And you kind of
Hmm.
like the next breath is almost like, okay, well, the family safe? And then you see this like
Right.
the guys that you think are the safe ones that are going to be the heroes, one gets taken away.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is brutal, right? And at that point, right, and the film has been moving, but it just continues to move,
Hmm.
right? I don't think it's much of a leap to go to, and we can go back. We need to Connery's death, and this is signature to Palma, like just the camera lurking, following someone, and then Connery has that line, another famous line, just like a wop to bring a knife to a gunfight, and then he gets shot in, and of course it's devastating, but with like the music contributes to it and the dialogue, right? When Ness says to him, "Stay, stay, stay,"
Hmm.
right? Like it is just so painful. There's that desire, that need, that want, right? It is
Hmm.
the stakes and the consequence of challenging predatory power. I do believe, right, like this film can be watched. My assumption is people watch this as entertainment. And even at the time, I would hear people talk about it, right, as like, oh yeah, that was a good popcorn entertainment film, right? Fine. But for for me, it is entertainment, right? But they get these things so very well. They are so good at harnessing what is at stake when pushing back against violent perpetrators.
It's true. I loved that scene, the way it was shot. Like I was at the edge of my seat. I mean, it was so suspenseful and you don't know you have a feeling that he's gonna like he knows they're coming, which I think he does. But then you don't expect them to kill him, ultimately. So then when he walks outside and there's another guy, I just really liked that. I mean, I hated that he was shot, but I think you kind of know something's going to happen to him. And I just think it was so well done. There's like this other twist on top of the twist. But yeah, the way that scene was shot with the rooms and being so far away and then going close, I just loved that.
Agreed. And it plays with us, right? In that we're terrified, terrified, terrified that he's going to die. Then he turns the gun around, and we're like, yeah, and we feel safe, right? It's still violent, right? The scene is still a violent
Yeah.
scene, but it's the villain who's going to get it. So we're like, whatever. And also, Connery's right. He has the audacity to say, "Get out of here," right? Like he may very well not. Like he may let him run away, which is amazing, right? And maybe that is Connery's mistake. If he had just shot him right there in his apartment,
Right.
then he would have been better prepared.
Right. But even that scene where he's crawling and like he's kind of dying, I mean, you could call that violent, but it didn't feel like it because it was realistic. It was like this is if someone gets shot, they're gonna drag blood all over the floor. And he's struggling and he's trying to survive and he's a real fighter. And so I felt like that was all so well done. Like none of that bothered me, where I think, I don't know how a movie like that would be made now. I just would be done so differently. They'd be like on their back with like their guts hanging out or something. It just would be so different. I just feel like the violence was tasteful.
And it's just fantastic, right? The juxtaposition to the opera, right? The opera is playing, right? Capone is
Yes.
crying, and just the wealth and just the gaudiness of it all. And right, and here they are, right? Like that's where
Yeah.
he is, and now here they are, right?
Well, and the idea that Capone is, having emotion over like this fake story or whatever, the art of it, the opulence, and then he doesn't care about actual people dying. The dichotomy of that I thought was so well done because all he cared about was winning. Me win, you lose, and that's all that matters. It's not about like any kind of morality, like it's not equal among the two sides. It's just as long as I win, we're good. And I felt that from him. Like in that scene, you definitely feel that.
Only one king on the throne.
Yeah.
And so then we've talked a lot about like getting to right the train station scene.
I was thinking about whether Ness was going to remember the lessons that Malone had taught him from the first stakeout at
Mm.
Canada. And it just felt like he didn't. I don't know, like he's just kept fidgeting and fidgeting and fidgeting. And, Malone had always taught him, like, just stay calm. It's going to happen. Don't worry. And the way that they cut, that kind of anxious waiting together. And then, he can see the mother struggling with the baby and just like, oh, I gotta get this baby out of out of the way here. So yeah, I don't know if Malone's lessons got listened to there, but it was just interesting just to kind of witness his battle with that.
And I like the struggle and internally, right? Like, the gentlemanly thing to do would be to help this mother, right? And he's stressed out over it. He's going back and forth. Do I help her? Do I help her? Do I help her? Right? I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. And right, and then he succumbs to it, right? And then it's maybe I shouldn't have done that. Also, what I was saying, it was now the film critics in '87 had likely definitely had seen Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin, which apparently like that was the film I was thinking of that this film is riffing on, right? Just like the montage sequence, right? The editing, like all of it, like they were definitely I think that he was playing with. He was playing off of that scene, and I love that De Palma does it, right? De Palma gets so much shade, right? Like, oh, he's a poor man's Hitchcock, or he's copying Hitchcock. There's so much about him, right? That he's just like constantly when you're watching his films, of course you think about Hitchcock, but that doesn't mean you can be he's influenced by Hitchcock. So and we get a lot of shade for that. And he got a lot of shade for that probably for up to this point, like at least a decade. And then he just openly does the same thing, but with Eisenstein. And it's fantastic. And it works so brilliantly in the film, right? So that if you're aware of it, you're giving a little nod. And if you're not aware of it, it's just a fantastic scene from a film from the 1920s, right? Like a silent film, 1920s. Why not?
No, you can tell from this film that he loves films. Like he loves filmmaking, he loves filmmakers, and that he's appreciating the art of it. Like the way that he does the shots, the editing. I mean, it's all like a film lover's dream. Like I enjoyed watching it because I was like, wow, this person really has a lot of craft. So you can definitely feel that.
And just when I mean, come on, the way Garcia says two, right? And the guy says one, and the Garcia says two. That was great. Shoots him and then helps him out. Says two.
Somebody has a
Like
crush on
he's
Garcia,
like
I think.
Garcia. Look, Garcia loves to kill people in this movie. That Stone enjoys. He enjoys killing mafiosos. He really enjoys it, right?
Yes.
He's like the guy from he's like pretty much the entire platoon from Inglourious Basterds, right? Who just love killing Nazis, right? He just
Yeah. He would have fit right in.
Did he? So this is Garcia's like first big breakout. I know he did the Hal Ashby movie right before, but is this
What
what like
movie?
made him
What Hal Ashby movie? Now I'm curious.
eight? What is it?
8 Million Ways to Die. He was in 8 Million Ways to Die.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I've seen that
Huh.
movie. That movie is
Never
you'd
seen
think
that.
like you'd think to yourself like, come on, it's called 8 Million Ways to Die. It's got Jeff Bridges, Hal Ashby directed it. It is not good.
Oh, okay.
I've
I was gonna because all
I've
yeah, when you said Hal Ashby, I was just like, but
Yeah, but
no,
later Hal
not
Ashby
good.
movies
Okay.
got, but and Oliver Stone was like
Okay.
credited as a writer on it. And I
Oh, interesting.
think
I'm looking it up right now. Is
like I don't
Garcia
know
in this
how the
movie?
movie was received as far, but I think that like De
Yeah,
Palma
he's in it. You're right. He's in it.
noticed.
Man, I don't I only the only thing I remember of that film is there's like a is there's like the finale is set up in one of these like these LA homes where you have to take what are the and how do you get to Rosebud Island? What are those things called?
Practice, practice, practice.
A sh oh,
How do you get to
like a
Rosebud Island?
shuttle? A
Yeah, one of those
shuttle?
like one of those air
Oh, an
shuttles.
air, the
Yeah,
air
yeah. So
tram or
like 8 Million
tram.
Ways
Isn't
to
that what it's
Die. A
called? Air
tram. Yeah,
tram.
tram. You
Yeah.
have to take like it takes place like on this like LA like mountain like with the tram like to get to someone's house, like some wealthy house.
Oh,
That's all I
okay.
remember. I remember nothing else from that movie other than not
Yeah, I
great.
just looked at the poster. Yeah, it doesn't
I
look
think
good.
I think I made an attempt to watch it and fell asleep and was like, ugh, I'm
Okay.
not. Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah, he's in 8 Million Ways to Die,
Huh.
and I don't know if I guess it's this and then Internal Affairs. The movie's tough. Like the first hour of the
Hmm.
movie's kind of entertaining, and then
Is this
it's
your
not.
second reference to Internal Affairs?
Not on the podcast,
I don't
maybe.
Yeah.
believe
Maybe I
so.
talked about.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
not in life.
Eugene
In life,
shaking
We're
his head.
getting it.
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
go
I
24.
saw it recently, and it was haunting. It was haunting
What
how
is that? I don't even
terrible
know
it
what that
gets in the
movie is.
second hour.
Yeah.
It's like an LA cop drama. Mike Figgis
Mm,
directed it. It takes I think it's
okay.
like 1990, and like the first hour is it's entertaining, right? You're watching an LA cop drama.
Hmm.
Gear's the bad guy cop. Garcia's the good guy cop. Laurie Metcalf plays like his partner, and she rules in it
Hmm.
too. And
Interesting.
at the halfway point, it just gets insane with things that would just not be okay today to put in film, and that should not have been okay to put in film then. He's
Okay.
beating Garcia's beating his wife, Nancy Travers saying you'll kill her if
Oh,
she cheats on him, like stuff like that. Like
okay.
it's like Richard Gere is very much about talking about violating other men's wives in uncomfortable places.
Hmm.
It just becomes beyond insane in the
Okay.
second hour, and
I'll
it's
skip
still
it.
haunting me
Just
to this day because it was an entertaining first hour.
All right. Well, this
But
is a
yeah.
safe place to share. So
yes, it is.
But also, wait, maybe Internal Affairs was after because 90 was his
Yeah.
big like. So 90 was The Godfather, Godfather Part 3. So
Okay.
maybe Internal Affairs was after that. I'm trying to look up Andy Garcia now and find out
Yeah,
like the
yeah. He was, I think Internal Affairs was after that, but this was Untouchables was definitely his like huge break.
Hmm.
yeah. No,
Yeah, I'm
Internal
looking
Affairs.
him
They
up
were both
too.
90. No, yeah, it was Untouchables, right? I knew I was forgetting one. I'm kicking myself. Black Rain. Black Rain.
Hmm.
That movie rules. That is one of Ridley Scott's most underrated films. He has a great role in Black Rain. So it's A Million Ways to Die is 86. You have Untouchables in 87, Stand and Deliver in 88, and then 89 Black Rain. There's a couple of things here like Blood Money, American Roulette,
But also,
um
like, what was the other one?
some
Night.
TV, an episode of Murder She Wrote.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He just did TV
Hmm.
before.
But Untouchables was the bit, right? A Million Ways to Die and then Untouchables. Right? So like that was he pops in Untouchables, right? Like
Yeah.
incredibly.
Yeah, I think, and I might be wrong, but I think De Palma saw him in 8 Million Ways to Die, and that piqued his. And I might be making this up.
Hmm.
But he's really good in Black Rain, and then Godfather 3, and he plays and he plays a real creep in Godfather 3, and then he's really good in Hero, which is 92 as John Bubber. I love that name, John Bubber. Leah, if you've never seen Hero, it's pretty
I
corny,
have
but I love
not.
it. It's like
Okay.
it's a lot of fun. It's 92. It's like Gina Davis, Dustin
Hmm.
Hoffman, and Andy Garcia, and and Hoffman plays a typical Hoffman character. But
Okay.
it's a lot of fun. It's a cute little movie. I'd love for them to put that on
What is it about?
basically like, and this is like in the trailer, like
Mm-hmm.
Hoffman, like
There's a plane
Hoffman,
crash.
there's a plane crash and he like saves all these people
Hmm.
in the plane crash, but then it's a case of mistaken identity. So
Okay.
it's just a lot of fun.
All right. I would see that. That sounds like
But anyway, so right, so we got the train sequence, right? The train station sequence. Jack, what's that actor's name? We've talked about him before. We've talked about him more than once. The guy from Midnight One who's like, "Hey, want to get some donuts?" He's the bookkeeper. He's the bookkeeper
Oh yeah.
who they save. The guy in the office in Midnight Run who is always leaking
That's
information
the same
to the
actor?
mafia. Yeah, yeah. Same actor.
Oh. Are we sure?
You guys want to look it up? I'm pretty sure it's the same actor.
I mean, I believe you. I don't
Okay.
remember what he looked like in Midnight Run. I can't place him, but
Here,
he is really good.
I'll look it up right now.
I mean, the other guy that's so good is the guy
This
in
is
the
all
white
good
suit. I
podcasting,
forget
us
his
looking things up.
character. Yeah. People like it. I mean, this is what we do. We,
Yeah.
we we really should get an IMDb sponsorship, is
Yeah, Jack
what we
Cahill. Yeah,
need.
this is definitely the guy. He was in Serpico,
Okay.
Midnight Run.
Jack
Yep,
Cahill.
Okay.
Jerry Giesler in Midnight Run. The Sting,
All right.
right?
Wait, is his
Um,
name in Untouchables Jack Cahill?
no, it's his name. It's his real
That's his
name. In
actual
the
Oh, his real
name.
name
Untouchables,
is
I'm
Jack
assuming she's like the
Cahill.
bookkeeper.
His name
Payne. His name is
in
Payne in the Untouchables. There
Mm.
you go. But he's all done up in Untouchables.
Mm.
And yeah,
in George
so and
Romani.
then right, so then they get the bookkeeper, and these are now the film is a film that Leah is not loving anymore, right? I do love the rooftop scene quite a bit. The back and forth. I had a friend who lived at that address, right? He takes the gun out. I like the up the stairs, I think is great. It's cinematically fantastic. The
Hmm.
chase back and forth, the shootout on the rooftop is fantastic, right? And then you really know it's fictional when he throws him off the roof. Right, like at that point, he's like, they're just like,
Yeah.
you know what? We're just
Vengeance.
right. Did he sound anything like that? Right, like then it becomes very,
Yeah.
absurdist.
Yeah, the way that they ended the movie was very much like a letting you know this is just supposed to be like a blockbuster summer movie. Like how quickly it was like we're gonna almost threaten the judge. We're gonna get a guilty verdict immediately. Like the public defender, not the public defender, sorry,
It
but the
wasn't
defense
a it
attorney.
wasn't a guilty verdict, right? It was right, like it was basically right that the whole jury was bought, right?
Right.
And they told the judge the jury was bought. And then what Ness said also, right, to the DA was, I told him the jury was bought, and I also told him that we had information that he was bought too. And the DA is like, we don't have that information, but Ness was bluffing, and he figured
Right.
the judge is bought too,
But
right?
then
And then so the
but then
judge, right, like switches the juries, right, and then right, it's
the defense attorney yelling, "We're changing
oh
that's
please,
that's absurd." There's
that is
like
First of
absurd.
all, that's illegal. As someone that's worked in the criminal justice system, like I was like,
yes,
this, you can't do that without the consent of your client.
Yeah,
Like,
Right, like
this is
but then you get to see
craziness.
Capone like hit him, right? Like
But also the thing with the jury was like, well, he could do the same thing with the next jury. They're not going to have a jury for one day. Like he could bribe the next jury. So none of it made any sense to
Right.
me. I was like, you've
Well,
lost me
maybe
It
they
completely.
should
had it
question
had
that
like the
jury.
historical accuracy of like Aladdin at that point. Like it just didn't.
Right. Yeah. I was like, all right, I'm done. This movie needs to end.
And then the last line killed me. Like, why do they do? It's like, Mr. Nuss, what are you gonna do if they overturn
Right.
prohibition? Think I'll
I
have
Have
a
a
no,
drink.
drink.
I actually love that
Because
line.
it won't be
I had a
illegal
whole
anymore, and he's just a man of the law. So he doesn't,
yeah,
once it's legal, he can drink.
I see like that idea like yeah, I didn't mind that at all. Like maybe I'll have a drink, right? Because of what Leah's saying, right? Like it is about upholding the law. Like and it goes right back to that idea. And the old I didn't mind that at all. Like where he's like, no, I'm a Quaker, right? Which I'm not. I don't know what is. I don't know if he was a Quaker or not, but it
He
wasn't
wasn't
like
a Quaker.
No.
Does anybody know
Well,
how Elliot Ness died? I'm asking you.
no. Are you
oh
going
in
to
real
tell
life. No,
us?
I don't. I do know that like 10 years ago, Soderbergh wanted to make a Ness movie called Ness, which I was salivating at the mouth over with Damon playing
Hmm.
Elliot Ness, and they never came to fruition.
With who
I would
playing
have
him?
loved Matt Damon. I would have loved
Oh,
that. That would have yeah,
interesting. Okay.
would have absolutely
I
loved
could
that.
see that.
How did Elliot Ness die, Patrick? Are you looking
He
it up?
he died pretty young of a heart attack, but he
Hmm.
developed a pretty substantial issue with alcohol consumption.
Oh,
Did he
well, so
really?
it makes that then makes that line,
I can't
cheeky
tell if
and
you're being
upsetting.
No,
serious or
no, no,
not.
no, Leah. There's certain things that would he
Wait,
did.
really?
If I'm like wanna
I
Yeah,
mean,
um
that's
that is
actually
upsetting.
interesting
Yeah.
if people want to
That's
look that
true.
up, like please do. I don't want to
No, I
obviously
just want you to be telling
alcoholism
the
is a disease,
truth.
and
I don't want to have to look it
um
up myself.
I'll fact check myself in real time.
Okay.
I read that from a source, an unnamed source, but I believe he had an alcohol related car accident.
Oh wow, a car accident.
Oh, yeah. Well, AI is telling me yes. After the repeal of prohibition, some struggle with alcoholism and a decline in his reputation, eventually leading to a period of obscurity and financial hardship.
And
That
also,
is sad.
according to, this other Google search pretty quickly, when he died of a heart attack at age 54, it was a consequence of prolonged alcohol abuse.
Well, I wonder if
Yeah.
they put that line in there because of that, if they knew. I mean, I assume they would know that based, like, if they did research on his life, that that's sort of a,
They
precursor
must
to.
have done enough research because he's like credited as a writer of the movie. Like, so I'm guessing that based on some of his writings and interviews, like they t drew enough that they would credit him as.
Right. It did look like that because it says David Mamet with like four other, like it was based on a bunch of sources. One was the TV show, and then I think some were like Ness's, maybe his memoir. Like there was
Hmm.
some historical, autobiographical stuff that they use. So interesting.
Yeah.
Any we want to say anything else about the film? I know we went over the ending pretty quickly, but like you all said, right? Like it once the scene in the train station happens, and I don't want to minimize the nitty chase up the stairs onto the roof. I loved all of it. Music
Yeah.
as well, pretty intense. Once he throws him off the roof, the moment he throws him up and says, "Do you sound anything like that?" Then it kind of becomes pretty comical. Right, we're out in 5 minutes pretty much, right? Like or 8 minutes. I mean, granted, you do get the sad music. He's looking at the picture of everybody, right? He's walking out the door, and then they ended in like this upbeat music, right? They're on the street
Hmm.
again, and he's walking home, and
Although another great line is when they say, "Where is he?" and he says he's in the car. I mean,
That
I
is,
appreciated that. I mean, it's good. It's just good writing. It's
yeah.
good writing.
wow,
Well, it's
Leah,
just like Mamet's
Leah
writing
loves
is so
one-liners.
it's
Leah loves
Like I
one-liners.
said,
I
when they're
can't
good, they're
believe it.
good.
Leah, I feel like I asked you this in the podcast and I apologize if
Hmm.
but have you seen Glenn Ross?
Yes, I love
Okay.
Glengarry Glen Ross. I'm almost tempted to go see they're doing it on Broadway with
Yeah,
Kieran Culkin and a bunch of
yeah,
other really great
Bill Burr.
actors.
yeah.
Yes.
Bill
And Bob
Burr.
Odenkirk, right? I
No,
mean,
I can't. That's
that's got to be
amazing. Yep.
good.
Yeah.
But yes, I love that movie.
Yeah. And that's why I got, talk about just a movie that's just all filled with one-liners or plays
Hmm.
so many great
Yeah, no, I want
one-liners.
to see that movie again. I might watch that tonight.
Oh man, I was gonna say earlier on, Mike, when you guys were talking about favorite lines, I was gonna slip in, how about I buy you a pack of gum and show you how to chew it? And then that would have prompted Leah to be like, that's not this movie.
Oh, that's a good one though.
That's right. Patrick texted me that his favorite line from Untouchables is "I'm rubbing him out," and that's from Dick Tracy. So
No.
Well, no, it was on a group chat that we have, and we mentioned that we were doing the Untouchables, and then somebody was like questioned my
Hmm.
ability to appreciate Untouchables. So then I responded
Hmm.
with my favorite line from the movie is "I'm rubbing him out," which
Hmm.
is
which is a line delivered by the Brow in 1990s, Dick Tracy.
Yes. Warren Beatty's best attempt of making Untouchables while also riding the coattails of
God.
the comic book success of the Batman.
I did love Dick Tracy at like 10 years old,
You
but
love Dick
I
Movie
don't
Tracy?
know if it
rules.
would, yeah, I don't know if it would stand up now, hold
No,
up,
I
but
still love it.
I would see it again.
So Leah and our listening audience and Eugene, in that order, because Eugene's not going to be impressed or surprised by this, but Michael actually thought that I thought I'm rubbing him out is a line in Untouchables, to which I then said to him like, I just love how De Niro keeps eating walnuts during the, and I don't know if you heard me. He was walking away from me.
I did not hear you. I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, because it would have just annoyed him. But is it true or is it just my 10-year-old take when I watched Tracy? Was Pacino just doing an impression of De Niro doing Al Capone?
I
Is
would
that true?
think so, honestly. Like that's like I really,
I don't
I
even
don't know.
remember Pacino being in Dick Tracy. I have a very
He's the
weird
villain.
memory of
He
things.
was
Like
nominated for an Oscar.
I think
Uh,
I just remember Madonna, right? Madonna, and then
yeah,
who?
Yeah,
Madonna is memorable in
And
it.
it's what's and Warren Beatty was in it, right? Or
yeah,
no?
yeah. He
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
wrote and
that's
Warren
what I
Beatty
directed
was
it.
remember.
Dick Tracy, directed
Yeah,
it, and he
yeah,
was Dick
right. Yeah,
Tracy.
that's all that I really. I just have this like vague memory of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had Patrick's Walnuts line is because Paul Sorvino plays Lips Manless. And he was Genie H Walnuts, and that's what he was referencing there.
No, no,
William
no.
Forsythe plays
Okay.
William Forsythe plays Flat Top, and another big Dustin Hoffman plays
Hmm.
Mumbles. Right.
Okay.
So I
I have
think
to see
those are all
this
like
movie
But
the
again.
big names.
yeah, no, no. It was Big Boy Caprice. Yeah, what is it? Big Boy Caprice. He's the
Al
one
Big
eating the
Boy
walnuts.
Caprice.
Yeah, he's eating the.
No, he jokes that he loves walnuts because they're good for the liver, but that's only because Lips Manless eats the walnuts and he kills them and then they're found on the crime scene.
Oh, okay, but he was eating
Okay.
the. I was thinking because he was eating the oysters in the beginning.
Lips Manless was eating the oysters I
Yeah,
mean the
yeah, yeah,
oysters. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm with you. That's when I think Paul Sorvino, I think eating oysters in 1990s classic Dick Tracy.
Oh my God.
I think cooking sausage at the end of Goodfellas. And he's like,
Thank you for bringing that up.
now I'm
You
done
walked
with
right
you.
into that
Well,
because I
that's
was
another
this.
movie I have never seen, and it's on
Oh,
my list.
Can
Oh
that
my
can
gosh.
that be next
Okay.
week's movie? I mean, I know
No,
I'm
I
really
need a
excited about
break. I
watching.
have a suggestion for next week, but we
great,
can do
great. I need a
Goodfellas.
break. I love
We
I need a break.
No, well,
Just to be
this.
clear, Leah did suggest the Untouchables for everyone. I
Yeah.
was like, maybe we
what?
do a break.
I
Oh,
did not.
no, yes, you did. 2 weeks ago, I said, should we do a break? Like, should we do something? And you
Oh.
said, no, let's do the Untouchables. And I said, really? You
Well,
said
you
yes.
you
Michael's
originally
inversion.
suggested it, and then you said, "Do I need a break?" And I said, "No, I can handle it." But I
Okay.
never would have been like, "Oh, hey, you know what we should watch is The Untouchables."
Yeah.
That definitely did not happen.
Okay.
But yes, we can do Goodfellas because I am curious about it.
Well, because in my head, I'm like, I think there's such my reaction to this movie was I kept thinking it throughout the whole movie. Excuse my language. I'm like, why the fuck are there so many Goodfella posters up on dorm rooms? Like in my head, like why do I know Henry Hill's? Why do most people today know Henry Hill's name before they know anything about Elliot Ness? Like what? Like the way, like in pop culture, and I just think it's so fascinating. Like even with film, like how many movies today try to replicate Goodfellas versus
Hmm.
like movies that try to tell stories about you know moral
Yeah.
heroes
Well,
fighting
yeah,
crime.
that's
I
the
don't know.
problem with our society. Not to get down another rabbit hole, but I'm glad you brought that up because yeah, that's exactly it. It's like why are all these young men in college being like, "Oh, cool, like, we have this mafioso is like the greatest," and not the guy that stopped them.
Right.
We got our priorities all wrong, guys.
We do. We do.
Correct.
So I don't. I mean, I don't know if you. I mean, Michael, did you have your heart set on? I mean, I know you did. You wanted to do Witness, and Witness
No,
would be
I didn't
nice,
want to do
but
Witness
Oh.
next. I thought we
Oh,
would
I thought you were
do.
gonna give me
oh
you told me I was gonna choose this week.
I
yeah, you could
yes,
choose.
you are. No, no, I
You
was
could
not.
choose.
I did not think we were doing Witness next. Because I
Okay.
figured we would move away from the heavy stuff unless Leah's now going to be like, I want to watch something really heavy. But I thought that yeah,
It
Leah
might
would
be. I
just let
actually
us
don't
know
know
what she wants
anything.
to watch.
Yeah,
Um,
everyone watch.
well, so I was gonna choose The Fisher King, which I don't know anything about, but I just was watching somebody like talk about the Criterion Collection. They had picked that out, and I was like, okay, perfect. We'll just make that the next one. So I thought I'd try it, but I really don't know anything going in.
Great.
No, The Fisher
Awesome.
King's awesome.
It really
I
is.
haven't seen it since I saw it in the theater, I don't think.
And you saw Fisher King in the theater? You did not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I did. I thought that
I'm pretty sure you did not. There's no
when did
way
The
you saw
Fisher
the
King come
Fisher
out?
King. I would say 90. I'm gonna say 91. Let's look it up. Maybe 92. 91. Yep, 91. You did not see it, and it was the spring of 91 too. So, you, so
Why are
80,
you saying it
what,
like, oh
82,
yeah, hot
83,
take? You would not
84,
see that when
85. So you would have been 8 years old going on 9 to see the rated R Fisher King in the movie theater.
what would have been
There's
9 going on
no
10?
scenario where that happened.
Uh,
Because I would have seen it in the movie theater as well. I would have seen it with you. You wouldn't have gone. You and David Zuckerman wouldn't have gone. Right,
no, I
with his
actually thought
dad
that I
to
did,
the
but maybe I
Comac
did.
multiplex to see the Fisher
Oh,
King.
Maybe I
That
did.
was
But
not going to
then,
happen.
well, regardless, okay, Michael, because he's,
You're,
you
you're
know what it is,
confusing
Leah?
it. You're confusing it with King Ralph. You guys went to see King Ralph. That's what you did, right?
Wow, Leah, Michael
my
has
God.
not let it go that I went to go see King Ralph with my best friend,
What
and he
is
didn't
King
go with us.
Ralph?
You don't know King
That's
Ralph?
No.
The
the
Fred
best.
Ward was it the
It was the greatest
1990
movie.
Fred Ward film? What?
Essentially, wait, Michael, I got this.
Let's get the
It's
premise.
essentially like watching, you have to see it in the theater to get the experience. It would be like
Hmm.
missing out on like a Nolan film, like you have to see it
Okay.
in IMAX to get the full
Uh-huh.
birth
I actually
of what
think,
King
Patrick, you
Ralph.
are conflating these things. King Ralph's a 1991 film, right? So it opened around the same time as The Fisher King. I think that you are genuinely conflating these two things.
I'm
That's one.
genuinely not. I'm
Two,
conflating. I
Lisa,
can tell you right now what I'm
Leah.
conflating.
All right,
I'm
Leah,
conflating always.
always,
Yeah.
always in The Fisher King?
Yeah.
Always was
Because both.
89. You saw it always in the theater?
Yeah, we did.
I did not. No.
Yeah. Me, you, and he who not be shall not be named.
I promise you, I did not.
Yeah, we definitely did. That movie was not appropriate for me to see as a
No, of course
fragile,
not. I
emotional,
remember
sensitive.
seeing it. I remember seeing the first part of it on VHS often because Dreyfus's death is so surprising and alarming. Like it is unique and it is harsh. Like it's quick, and it's unique and it's harsh. And that's the premise of the film, Leah. So I'm not ruining Always for you.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like, what's always? I don't even
It's
know what this movie
It's
is.
a 1989 Steven Spielberg
Oh.
film.
Oh.
It was the first time I think Spielberg did the whole
Oh,
like
oh my
two
goodness.
movies in one year.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm cleaning. One, I did see Always in the theater. I'm pretty sure I did
Right,
see
but I
Always in
didn't.
theater. But I was confused. I was conflating it with Awakenings.
Okay,
Right?
we did see Awakenings in the theater.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry. That with De Niro and Robin
Okay.
Williams.
Yep.
That's when I think about like
All right,
serious
so
Robin
let me
Williams
explain the
hanging
premise of King Ralph to Leah, though, because this is amazing, right? 1991's King Ralph. Fred Ward won the Oscar for writing The Sting, right? Became a director. He
Hmm.
did Canary
Always
Row,
comes
which I
back to
really
the
want to
Sting.
see, but I haven't seen. He did Major League. King Ralph. The entire royal family gets murdered
Oh my
by
goodness.
accident. They die accidentally.
By
They're all
accident.
electrocuted. They're all electrocuted. They're taking a family
That's not
portrait.
murder.
It's
They're
not murder,
getting.
Mike.
They're taking a family portrait, and
There's
and
so
it's
much
after it
hostility
rained.
attached
It's
to
after it
Michael missing
rained.
this movie.
No,
Oh
it's in the
God.
trailer. It's after it rained, so
Oh my God.
they take like wet plugs and plug them in for the portrait, and they all die. They all
God.
die. So they have
Okay.
to. So Peter O'Toole
Wow.
has to find right the next in the lineage, and it happens to be a Vegas singer, a Vegas act, and the actor playing the Vegas scene is John Goodman as Ralph,
Wow.
and
Oh
Peter
my
O'Toole
God.
has to train him to become
Okay.
king.
This is going on the
The
children's
poster is
viewing list.
amazing.
We are watching this movie.
It is. I watched it when I was sick once recently,
King Ralph.
and
Okay.
it is a piece
Done.
it is a piece of work. It
Done
is.
and done.
It's just so funny how often Michael has brought this up that I went to go see King Ralph without him. And
Yeah. With your friend. What was his name again?
David
I love these
Zuckerman.
names. David Zuckerman. We need to get him and your friend Martinez in here to do like
Michael
a
Martinez.
Michael
Mike Martinez.
Martinez because I'm obsessed with these two characters that are his side
well, that's because
characters.
I mean, like the Zuckermans, we went to the movies a lot with the Zuckermans.
We
So a
did.
lot of these like
Okay.
early stories. I mean, the Oliver and Company story, which we'll tell at some point later.
Okay.
That's a staple in
There's
in this
there's
journey.
one other that's probably going to pop up soon. Saman Aziz will probably come up too in our storytelling. Leah,
Okay.
you met Saman.
Did I?
You did at the Arboretum.
Okay.
You guys had a fight. You took a big
Oh.
stick and almost took his head off with it.
What? What are you
Oh,
talking
I
about?
just remembered
What?
that.
Okay, I don't know
This is
what
and
is
this is
going on
Leah
right
before
now.
seeing the Untouchables.
Yeah, that's right. A huge stick
What are
right
you
at like
talking about?
on the compost pile. Almost took
All right,
Salon's
this is
head off.
gonna have to wait till the next episode. I don't even know what's happening.
All
This
right,
is
we're in the
taking a
weeds.
turn.
All right, Eugene, aren't you supposed to tell us something like are we are we
Wait,
are
wait.
we
Was there something else?
whoa. We didn't do crinkle crinkle at the beginning. You got to insert that in, Eugene. We didn't
Yeah,
crinkle
because
crinkle
you
as
guys
Leah
are having
unwrapped.
producers meetings without giving Leah and I the notes.
I was so
We got to
excited to
get what
talk.
they call it the rundown.
Yeah.
You have to give us the rundown of what we're supposed to be following so that we can understand what we're jumping in.
Yep. So we met. I messed up crinkle crinkling as Leah opened
Do the intro
Untouchables,
again.
but I guess
Messed up
now it's
crinkle
time for
crinkle.
Eugene to ask it. Are we wrapped up? Are we wrapping up?
We are wrapping up. I mean, the final question, as always, is Leah, would you rewatch this movie?
I would rewatch this movie, actually. Yeah, I would.
Patrick is shocked.
Patrick is
No,
shook.
that's not. I'm not shocked about that. I'm shocked because I forgot one thing that I wanted to bring up. I was unable to watch this on my Blu-ray.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
Your Blu-ray didn't work?
The Blu-ray did not work.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, this is Paramount though. There hasn't been. I haven't read any articles about Paramount Blu-rays not working. Predominantly WB films.
It may just be a situation that I've had it for so long and that it was like in a box someplace for a certain period of time in your attic. So maybe it was damaged or something. But yeah, the disc would not be read. Could not be read.
Wow. I want to
Yep.
look up. Did you look it up at all or no?
No.
This is an excellent way to promote physical media.
I know, right? Thank you. Thank you, Eugene. It's probably just Patrick had it in a box somewhere, right? Like you said. I haven't heard
Yeah.
about Untouchables discs not working. Untouchable
I
Blu-ray.
think
Well, mine worked.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Leah. Leah's work.
but Leah, you had the Blu-ray
Yeah.
special edition.
Whatever might, yeah, the collector. I think it's the collector's edition or something. I mean, yeah, it must have been a Blu-ray. Yeah,
Okay.
but it was also shrink wrapped and protected.
Yeah, no one's.
for-
I'm not
for
hearing
many
anybody
years.
saying. I'm not hearing anybody talk about
Okay.
the Untouchables not working.
I just want. That's why I was running it by the experts. Before I went to the socials.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
All right, so we're doing Fisher King next. I'm very excited. And that criterion is clearly going to work. That was a recent gift, right? That was not too
Was
long ago.
it?
I was
don't know if it
super
was that
excited.
recent.
Maybe
Like 20,
like
2015.
three years ago. I mean, Midnight Run was
Sure,
was
maybe.
like 12 years ago, right? So
Yeah, I don't
And-
know. I don't remember when each of these were gifted to me. So
Fisher King's like the autobiographical. It's the guy who dated the guy who played Phoebe's boyfriend in the like season 1 or 2 of Friends. Like just about like his approach to acting.
no idea what you're talking about.
somebody is gonna get that joke.
Wait,
It's not
uh,
me.
It will
Wait,
not be
wait,
anybody.
wait to finish this off with a whimper. That's
I was a little Fisher Stevens jokes. That's what I was going.
Oh, boo.
Oh, okay.
Boo.
Unwrapped Finally is hosted by Michael Lavalio, Leah Shell, and Patrick Lavalio. Produced by me, Eugene Mock. Got a question or a hot take for the Unwrapped Pod team? Email unwrappedfinallypodcast@gmail.com. Your message could be featured on a future episode. And if you haven't already, give us a follow wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening. See you next time.